Okay, thank you all for joining us tonight. You just got a little bit of a tour of Luca's home on the outside. You see the greenhouse and his garden in the front. It's really stunning. And now we are inside, and our special guest, one of the special guests that wasn't announced, Michael Sands, owner of CW, is right here in the kitchen. Not his usual place, but we're so excited to have everybody here tonight. This is something we have never done before. And Kristi Delovitch from Winebow, who many of you have probably seen before, she brought this idea to us, and we thought it was really nice to have a night at Luca's home and dinner with cooking and pairing. We thought it was something different. He does live in a very beautiful place in the mountains, and so there's a little bit of Wi-Fi, so bear with us as the video might be not as clear, but we do have the audio working, so hopefully everything is good to go. Like I said earlier, you have 3 wines that you're tasting tonight: the Viognier, the Cabernet Franc, and the Octagon. And we are with Luca Paschina, who's the winemaker from Barboursville. We have Kristi Delovitch, who's from Winebow, represents Barboursville. And we have Michael Sands from Calvert, Woodley. And we have William Holdby, who is also representing Barboursville, and he is our cameraman. You can ask questions by using the chat, and we will be monitoring that. And so if you have anything to ask, just let us know. And right now, I think I'm just going to give it away to William. So.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining tonight. I'm Kristi Delovitch, sales director for Winebow in Washington, D.C. and Maryland, and a longtime friend of Calvert Woodley and of Barboursville and of William. So I'm really excited to be here tonight. I would like to start by introducing formally Michael Sands. Michael, if you want to come around here. He will be manning the chat tonight. But Michael is the owner of Calvert Woodley and one of the most fantastic people I've ever met, not just in the wine business. Michael, why do you agree to these crazy ideas when I bring them to you?
It's hard to say no to you, Chris. My contribution to the evening is to stay away from the kitchen. That's my contribution. So thank you for having us, Luca.
Thank you.
And just for the people watching, how long has Calvert Woodley been open, and when did you take over?
Calvert Woodley is fast approaching on his 40-year anniversary in July, and my dad retired right at the end of 2019, a few months before COVID, so he has excellent timing. Mm-hmm. And we've been friends for about almost 20 years. You've been and William here on the camera. Met him 15-ish years ago. He was a baby. He was a baby. Right. He worked at Calvert Woodley in our wine department, and Luca's been a friend of ours for a number of years. So we're honored to be here in his kitchen, in his home, a beautiful home. So I turn everything over to the pros here.
Great. So thank you, Michael. So Michael's going to be manning the chat tonight. So we love these kinds of events. We push our personal limits. This is my 160th virtual tasting, but this is the most creative and adventurous. So please bear with us. Not only are we out in the countryside with Wi-Fi, but we're also going to attempt to cook and pair wine live.
And talk.
Well, I don't struggle with the talking, but all the rest. This is Luca Paschina. Luca is the most respected winemaker in Virginia, one of the most respected winemakers in the world. He's originally from Italy. He went from one Piedmont to another. His father was a winemaker.
Yes.
And Luca and I have known each other for 20 years.
Yes, indeed.
So I was really a baby. I got engaged here when I was 25.
Yes, right.
In front of the ruins.
Wow.
And if you could just, to start, thank you.
Yes.
Grazie mille. And also just give people a sense, where are we?
We are at the edge of the estate. It's an 800-acre estate, and I am here on the hill at my house, which is overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountain and the vineyards. So everything outside is just exploding with colors and all shades of green. The dogwoods are in full bloom. The red bud just finished actually blooming. And I even was able to find very, very few morels. It's a very terrible season this year because it was cold, it was hot, it was cold, it was hot. And these mushrooms are very particular. They require a certain condition of humidity and temperature. So I have a few morels. Okay, there you go. Very hard to find also in stores, but you can also use a dry one. So I will talk about wine. I'm not as good as talking and cooking. Normally when I cook is more like I'm in cooking because it's very relaxing for me. It's like reading a book. And reading a book while you talk is not as easy. So sometimes if I stop talking, don't worry, I'm not losing. Focusing on the food. The menu tonight is not very complex, but there are many steps, and we arrange it to facilitate not having to do everything in the amount of time we have. It's going to be fun, I can guarantee you that. Very quickly about myself, I was born in Italy, in Piemonte, right outside of Alba, where I graduated in winemaking school. Then I worked in Italy for 8 years. Moved to Virginia in 1990, hired by an Italian family. And they hired me because I needed some help to improve certain things, especially the quality of the wine.
And the family is the Zoni.
Absolutely. And from Veneto, from the Veneto region, from the northeast, close to between Verona and Vicenza. So they hired me and they asked me to come here and help them out in Barboursville as a consultant. And I ended up never going back. I was just there actually in July. So that's where we are. We're at on the southwest mountain facing toward the Blue Ridge.
We're about 20 minutes from Charlottesville.
20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes north of Charlottesville.
William, would you mind just doing a panorama?
Yeah, let me show
to
you
walk
the
people out.
You can have a little bit of you can have an understanding of the territory here. Basically, to my left, no, you cannot see a lot, but is a mountain range called the Southwest Mountain, which is facing west to what you see in the distance is the Blue Ridge. Our vineyards are just below here on slopes that are facing for the most to the west and southwest. All red clay is very good microclimate here. Historically, we are receiving less rain than most area around here, especially in the summer toward the fall, which is critical for us to have less rainfall in this period of time to guarantee very good ripening. Let's go in and start some cooking.
Yeah, so we're gonna start tonight with the cheese plate. And Viognier is a little bit of, it can be, Luca, you may disagree, but it can be a little bit of a hard match with food. Viognier is a very floral and aromatic grape, and a little bit finicky.
Yeah, it's a delicate white wine, floral. It doesn't actually, it's not aged in oak, so it's not actually a wine with a big structure. It's a wine with a lot of elegance and softness, yet has a very bright, nice acidity. So for a cheese like that, you want to pair some cheeses that are not too sharp and creamy. So here you have two cheeses. Is a triple cream, very soft, very gentle, very, very rich. And you can just, have a little toast point, put it on together, and always take your cheeses out of the refrigerator at least half hour before you serve them. It will taste much better, a cheese, when it's warm than when it's cold, because the fat actually can melt better. It does melt better in your mouth. And actually, I never had this blue from France.
Oh,
and I thought perhaps at first could have been a bit too sharp when I saw it. But then when I tasted it, I realized it has an incredible softness, richness, a touch of the blue that you find perhaps on Gorgonzola or Stilton, but it doesn't have that strong, intense savory you find on a Stilton or a Gorgonzola. So it has a touch of that blue character, but what leads the cheese is the richness and the softness. So a great pairing with Viognier for both cheeses. I'm gonna have a bite.
I'm gonna be eating the whole time. This cheese, one of the reasons that I chose this cheese here, it's called Saint Agur. And many years ago, Carlos at La Cheeserie in Calvert, Woodley, let me try a little bite. And I remember saying to him, I like blue cheese, but I've never found one that I love. And this is probably 10 years ago. And he turned me on to Saint Agur, which is a small village in France. And when I first tasted it, what hit me was that was the creaminess. It was so rich and so full. And I have paired this over the years.
Mild.
Oh, it's beautiful with so many Pinot Noir. And even Chateauneuf de Pop have had amazing pairings, and it's one of my go-tos at Calvert. So Carlos also let me know that Calvert Woodley was the first to import Saint Agur to the United States. So really exciting. People think of Calvert for wine, obviously, but they have quite a following for cheese shop, La Cheeserie. Tony Kornheim helped with that, right? They got a lot of regular shout outs on the radio for La Cheeserie. There's a cult following for their cheese shop. So why do you think this pairing works so well with your Viognier?
Well, it could work with other white wines that, I don't like to say that this is the perfect match. It's a very good match. You can match a lot of white wines with this type of cheeses. And just happen to be a beautiful vintage, very expressive wine. Of course, if you start going into cheeses that have more aging, they're sharper, you really want to move toward the rosé, and then you move on to a red. And then when you get really to a cheese like Stilton, in my opinion, it's no room for any but sweet wines. Right. They're so intense, such long aftertaste that the only way to mitigate it and actually have a great overlapping of savory and sweet, it's a great Sauterne or a great Pasito we produce here at Barboursville. So that's the crescendo. This also would be fantastic with some champagne or with some sparkling or prosecco. It'd be right on.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's your favorite pairing with Viognier?
Viognier I really like with we could even pair it with the next course with pasta, for example, if you want. I like it very much with simply grilled seafood in general. And I would say perhaps seafood that is not too high in fat. I wouldn't go with salmon. I would go with a red with salmon or halibut. But I would go perhaps with a rockfish, which is a bit less fat. Sure. Or just a simply grilled shrimp with salt and pepper. And that's it. That's all you want to know. You want to have with it.
So let's go ahead and start cooking.
So
first of all, morels.
Yes.
So we have morels here tonight. And Luca went into a little bit of detail about why So this is your entire harvest.
That's my entire harvest for the past week. Actually, I collected them, put them in a bag, kept them in the refrigerator. I went out last night. Last night, I went out for an hour and a half, and that's what I found in an hour and a half for 2 nights with you. Actually, this mushroom you see compared to this, it has a burnt top.
Now, what causes this?
That is because it went through a very cold spell we had last week. And so it burned the top. The rest of the mushroom was a bit sheltered by some leaves. And so when I went into it, all I could see was that tip. And I opened the leaves and I found this beautiful mushroom. This is an older mushroom. You see the stem is what is young. The stem is still small. When the mushroom that grows toward the end of its life, the stem gets bigger. And actually, this is a stage where then produces a lot of spores. It gives more chances on new plants.
Is there
mushrooms.
a taste profile difference between a young mushroom like this and an older one?
It's not dramatically different. What is different is a bit is the texture. This has a better texture.
Okay.
And once this gets a bit frail, tends to be fall apart a little bit. But
Okay.
And we're gonna cook them. A lot of people, they cook with butter the morels, but also you can cook them with extra virgin olive oil. There are two separate schools.
What do you
And
like?
I like both.
Both.
I like it with both. The main thing, you don't want to cook them very long,
Okay.
because if you cook them very long, they exude water and they shrink. And so you actually lose a lot of the texture and a lot of the volume of the mushroom. And so one thing, never overcook morels, but also cook them at least 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes on very low to medium. Actually, never eat raw morel because it makes you sick.
Really?
Yes, there are actually a lot of mushrooms when they're raw, they're poisonous.
Yeah.
And then the toxins are actually depleted with a little amount of heat.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So don't make a tartare with morels. Actually, a chef in Europe did it and sent some people to the hospital. A Michelin star restaurant, it made him very famous very quickly.
I'm sure it did.
Thinking, oh, I do something really cool, something new.
A former Michelin star
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yes.
So one last, I really, the idea of
Yeah.
foraging mushrooms is like so fascinating with me because I'm nervous to do it. I don't know what I'm doing.
And that's good.
Yeah, but when you are looking for morels, what is the actual environment on the ground?
Yeah,
that
the
you're
environment for morel is in our area, in our region, it's a popular tulip poplar. In other regions, like in the Northwest, it's pine trees. In Montana, it's cottonwood. But you never find them, or very, very rarely you can find them under oaks, for example.
Really?
Virginia is poplar and also elm trees. And actually, elm tree, sometimes if you find a dead elm that falls, in that area, there is a specific morel called dead elm morel, which actually is the one that grows biggest. They can come as big as this, because there are at least 4 specific subspecies of morel.
Really?
The dead elm, the black morel, the yellow one, and the white one. So anyway, I forgot all the Latin names, forgive me. But it also grow at different stages. The first to grow is the black morel, followed by the white morel, followed by the yellow morel, and the end of the season is the dead elm esculenta, which is also called pied de mouton in Europe, which means the foot of the mutton, because it looks like the foot of a sheep.
Really?
So
How
yeah.
did you learn so much about mushrooms?
I grew up picking mushrooms and I love it.
Trouble?
Travel and but around here I picked 22 kinds for the whole season. Yeah.
Wow.
Some they're all edible, of course, but some are definitely better, and morel is the top of the list.
Is it some of your favorite?
Yeah. Why don't you could maybe cut them in half
Sure.
while I start getting the pasta going. We're gonna actually start cooking the pasta, and actually I'm gonna cook it a little bit different. I'm not gonna cook it in water. I'm gonna actually cook it in a pan, and I'm gonna add water to the pan.
Luca, am I cutting them this way?
Yeah, lengthwise. There's a little different technique, but actually by doing this, you keep adding water, and all the gluten that comes out from the pasta will stay in the pan. You know, sometimes you actually adding water. You take them out of water, then you have some cooking water. In this case, we added almost like cooking risotto. Okay. We just got some more water in here.
So one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this with Luca is I was a guest here in his home with Michael, actually, last May. And I was sitting right here, and Luca was sitting on the end. And I loved watching Luca in the kitchen. Different than watching you in the winery. He's a lot quieter, very intense, but also very joyful. And one of the things I learned about doing live casts and what I craved and what I liked about them was that, time of great isolation, we were really able to connect. And as I've done more and more, I'm always looking for opportunities where I feel like we can all connect more intimately, right? Even though we're on the computer. So what better way than to bring Luca
Thank you.
into his kitchen. How did I do, Luca? And
Hey, Kristi,
yeah,
we have a customer's asking, did you have fresh pasta or dry pasta, and what kind?
so this was a cheater. So in between. So I'm a huge fan of the fresh pasta that you buy in the store. So this particular pasta is fettuccine. I got 2 packets, and I actually just bought the Wegmans brand. There are a couple brands that I like. We do have a pasta maker in our home, but it's a day-long exercise. Luca, do you normally make your own pasta?
Yeah, I actually can make a pasta in like maybe 25 minutes. But it's not a show off. It's simple. You do it by weight. Instead of, some people say you have so much flour, so many eggs. You weigh it. You weigh the flour, you weigh your eggs. Because that way, when they put together, you cannot go wrong.
So next time.
Next time we can do a pasta. I mean, I do it a lot. Of course, if you have a lot of people, it takes a long time. But you can do a batch of pasta in, let's say, half hour for people.
What ratio do you need to
I
weigh?
do all by machine, by the way. I don't do the well by hand. It's not worth it. It's fun, but it's not really effective. I just use a Cuisinart. That's why I can just go in and out so fast.
Luca, which weight do you need? What ratio?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember it. I would have to watch it. I have it on my phone. But basically, if I tell you that you do it, I'm wrong. It's like to the grams. I learned that from a chef in Washington, D.C., Franc.
Oh, wow.
And he was here. We were cooking together, and he say, "Make a pasta," and he say, "Do you have a scale?" I said, "Scale." I said, "Yeah." Boom, boom. And I learned from him, and now I use it all the time.
We can send the recipe out. We can send it out after.
Absolutely.
One of the cool things about watching Luca cook is that he's very much like my grandmother in that everything is by feel. So we sent out specific recipes tonight because we wanted to make it so people cook along. But Luca, you do cook mostly by feel and instinct.
Yeah, I measure never. But also, I'm not good at baking. I do very little baking. Desserts. Because with desserts, you have to measure. And sometimes I've tried just to wing it, and about 80% of the time it doesn't work.
Yeah, sure.
So for that, yes. But for cooking like this, it's you just guess it. You can follow the recipe. Actually, they're very good recipes.
Yeah.
I will not go step by step measuring. A few things I measure. And hopefully we have enough time at the end to do a Viognier. That I measure exactly, because unless you don't do that, it may be too loose or too thick. But for other things, really, it's not necessary. So here I melted the butter, okay? Melted the butter, and I'm gonna put the morel in it, okay? I'll just put a little bit of salt on them, okay? A little bit of pepper. Not too much, and we'll let them sweat in here, okay?
Approximately how long?
You need to let them, it depends on the amount of heat. I don't like to have a too high heat, because then they shrink actually, and it will not be good. I like to do like a medium heat for at least 4 minutes, because that way the toxins that are actually in this raw mushroom, they will not harm you. But again, don't be afraid, because that's the kind of and it's a big there's a 25,000 BTUs commercial stove. So it's yeah, but you'll see what they look like. They start getting a bit more flimsy. Okay.
And for those who are cooking at home, or who really want to cook at home later, we can see what Luca is doing. But the recipe that was our inspiration tonight was from the New York Times, and it's pasta with morels, peas, and Parmesan using Reggiano. And basically, they call for you first to bring 2 pots of water to boil, 1 small and 1 large, a little salt in both. They ask you to cook the peas for 1 minute in the small pot, drain and cool quickly by submerging in ice water. Meanwhile, melt half the butter in a skillet, cut the morels in 4 pieces each the long way, and brown them lightly in butter, seasoning them with salt and pepper. Cook the pasta until it's nearly done. Just before draining, toss the peas and remaining butter with the morels and turn the heat to medium. Drain the pasta, reserving a little of the cooking water. Toss the pasta with the morels and peas, adding a little water if necessary to make the mixture soft.
Yeah, that's the point that I do a little different. It's how you cook the pasta. Instead of adding water to the end, look what I'm doing. See all that nice richness?
Yeah.
It's all the gluten. And actually that can allow you to get more creaminess and richness to the mouth, to your mouth feel. So you can actually, you could use less butter and less cheese and still be very, very good. So I have to put some salt on the pasta, a little bit of pepper, and then Michael is grated some. Look at this.
Well, yeah.
Beautiful.
Look at this. Look what Michael Sands did.
You're gonna
Michael
grate it
Sands.
really.
Everybody's got a contributor.
Renaissance.
With a microplane is ideal. So when it's so fine, it will actually melt into the pasta really well. You don't want to put in a pasta when it's too hot because it gets gummy. Actually, it changes the structure of the cheese and it gets clumpy. So
Can I ask a wine related question
Yes.
that might be off topic for a second? You said you don't measure and you cook by feel. How about with the wine? Everything is so technical in the wine business.
it's the total opposite. I'm
Yeah.
extremely precise when it comes to wine.
Yeah, that's what I
When
think.
I am instead, instead when numbers to me make not as much sense in a way, they're not as important, is when I decide to pick the grapes. That is really by looking at them, tasting them, and yeah, my run of sugar content, but it's not my deciding point when to pick. When to pick, I just look at them, I feel them, I touch the berries when the berries should just be at any means they're physiologically ripe. And then of course, look at the forecast. If I know they're almost too perfect for picking, but there is 3 days of rain, I don't wait, I pick early. But otherwise, I look for the perfect window. And that's when I use the least amount of the numbers. Although when it comes to other decision, it's like blending exactly how many gallons I want to blend. That I'm very precise.
So I'm going to go ahead and pour the 2019 Cabernet Franc as Luca finishes up here.
I would say that winemaking, it's a combination. A great winemaker has a combination of creativity and order. Those two things together, they really can contribute to produce a great wine. The pasta here is just about ready. Okay. And we're gonna just mushroom here. And here, instead of adding the mushroom in the pasta, we use some pasta here with the mushroom. Okay. Got some peas. We just do not too much pasta because that way, whoever eats it, we have a bit more of a good ratio between the cheese, the pasta and the mushroom. If we have a lot of pasta and few mushroom, it's not good. I wish we had a lot more morels,
I think it's
and we can make a lot of great plates of tagliatelle with morels, but we have to be happy with what we have.
So why are we pairing the Cab Franc?
Well, Cabernet Franc is a really phenomenal, and actually I forgot the cheese. I'm talking, so I forget.
Can I?
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
And again, cheese, I always go, I don't go very heavy on cheese in general with pasta, especially with an ingredient like morel or with shrimp. I like it. The recipe calls perhaps for more cheese than this. I stay a bit short of that. If you want to have a very, very rich pasta with cheese, I would say you almost don't need anything else. Just the best pasta with the best Parmigiano Reggiano, salt and pepper,
Simple,
and
perfect
you're
ingredient.
happy. Yeah. So
can we taste a little bit?
yeah.
We'll
Absolutely.
have our meal after,
Yeah.
but I think we should taste and
Yep.
try our pairing.
Yep.
Are we giving another morale? And
So why Cabernet Franc? Cabernet Franc is excellent with mushrooms. It has an earthiness, it has aromatics, it has spiciness. It has also nice red fruit characters, but it has an earthiness that to me it fits in perfectly with mushrooms. In particular, if you can, like a vintage like 2019, one of the best vintages we had lately, if you have store space in your cellar, put some away. We have a track record with Cabernet Franc. It easily ages 15, 20 years. We're still drinking some 97, 98 now. It's spectacular. When it ages, actually gets even more complex, aromatic, with multi-layers, which with this dish, actually having maybe a 2001 or 2006 Cabernet Franc, it would be like even more an experience, but this is not bad at all.
Incredible. Luca, this is so good.
Luca, a question from the chat. Would you add, are there like to cook with morels?
With morel, I really like to add thyme, little thyme. It's actually among the herb which we use all the time, like rosemary, sage, thyme, parsley is the most gentle. And with a mushroom, you don't want to use an herb that is too dominant, like parsley or rosemary. So for sure, thyme. Yeah,
That's delicious. The play between the Cabernet Franc, the acidity, and the morels is
very good.
outstanding.
So you see how this is nice and rich and dense.
Mhm.
Cooked like this.
That's perfect.
We put a little bit less cheese, which is actually not as rich, but the mouthfeel is very, very round and soft with the pasta.
And the peas,
And the peas, they give a little bit of fresh.
little touch of spring.
Sorry, I fell asleep on my job. The question was actually,
sorry.
would you add herbs or would they overwhelm the morels?
No, a little bit of thyme, actually, it's very good with it. Or you can even do a little bit of chive.
Although I have to tell you,
Very, very, very finely chopped. Chive gives a freshness and a hint of aroma from the chive itself, but something mild.
I don't really think it needs anything.
Oh no, it doesn't.
It's just
Sometimes I have used thyme on the.
really
On
nice,
the
really nice. Would you
oh,
all
we
like
have
a
another
scrap?
dish now coming.
Yes,
and,
please.
I have
Yes.
the pan ready here.
No, you're
So we're gonna
fine.
go with this. We're gonna actually start to talk about right?
Yeah, the rack of lamb.
Rack of lamb. So we're gonna get here the fire going nice and strong.
And
Actually, the rack, we prepared it earlier because as you see, the recipe calls for several ingredients. There's a little bit of rosemary, some thyme, which I picked outside fresh from the garden, some lemon zest, some garlic, some salt, some pepper. Basically, here is very simple. You take these ingredients and you just work them, you chop them, okay? And
Michael, you said there's a question?
Yes, somebody wants to know which mushrooms you would use as a replacement if morels were not available.
well, you can use talking about fresh mushroom that I really like cultivated are oyster mushroom, and there are different variety of oyster mushroom that are actually very agreeable. They're very good. That would be the easiest. You could also use some classic bottom mushroom, the white one, and actually they do work quite well. And another alternative, you can use a porcini, which are hard to find fresh in store, but you can use a dried one. And then you have to soak them in warm water for a while, and then actually ideally I do it in cold water and let them overnight. Next day, I squeeze the water out and I chop them very fine. And I cook them, you can cook them the same way. They're very nutty, they're very intense. They will go very well with the Cabernet Franc. So that perhaps is something that you can store in your house and do it whenever you feel like, one night I say, hey, I went in the cellar, I grabbed a bottle of Cabernet Franc, I'm gonna cook around it. Sometimes I go that way. I don't just do the dish, look for the wine. Sometimes I pick the wine and that inspires me what to cook. And that would be a great way to have in the house.
Could you also speak to when Luca was explaining how tough the morel season was here? He said, well, the other thing that we can do is we can rehydrate some morels that you had.
Yes.
And you were saying how easy that is. I
There
had never heard
are,
that
you
before.
can actually buy a dry morel. Sometimes you can find them in stores, but actually you can find them online. And actually, if you go online, look for a small company that actually, there are some families, especially in the Northwest, they pick a lot of mushroom, they dry them themselves. And that way, you not only will find perhaps some more handcrafted product, but also you support a small family of foragers that really do their season. It's actually a lot of people count on that income. And I do have a couple of sources in Washington State that I use to get dry morel for our restaurant here at the Viognier restaurant. So here, all I'm doing basically is taking some thyme, a little bit of rosemary. We're gonna get some of the garlic. I'm gonna chop it. And just follow the ingredients here. You can follow it closely or close enough, but basically you have the garlic, you have the herbs, you have a bit of the lemon zest, some olive oil, and then all of these things gets mixed together. Okay, they get mixed together, and then they go in a bowl where you then add a little bit of olive oil, and then you just pat it on. You pat it onto the fleshed side of the rack of lamb, not in the back. And then it's important to store this in the refrigerator for at least an hour, which is what I did. That allows for the crust to stick a little bit more.
Okay.
Because if you put it on and immediately you turn it, it will fall apart and spread into your pan.
Luca, when I was buying the rack of lamb, the butcher gave me two options: fat on or fat off. What do you?
I like to take some of the fat out.
Okay.
Because actually I exposed the flesh. You can see here, I actually removed the fat.
Yeah.
What that does, if you sear fat, you have a certain aromatic.
Sure.
If you sear the meat or the protein, it gives a different flavor. And I do prefer having a more sear on the protein side.
Okay.
And a little bit of fat I leave on here. Okay.
So we're putting
So,
this on here.
No, actually, this is already done. I was just demonstrating. Yeah, but we have one more rack there that we do for
I brought 3 racks.
we pack it and then I give you a nice bag with some ice and you can take it home.
3 racks.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Went a little
That's
crazy.
why I came,
Ah,
for the doggy bag.
I know, right?
so we're gonna sear it now. I'm gonna put just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. You're gonna be a little bit smoky. I have to turn the fan on. It's gonna be a little noisy. Just hang in there. Okay.
This is our pairing with the Octagon. So I'm going to go ahead and pour some Octagon now for us. We said 2017. What was the vintage like?
2017 actually was a spectacular season. I wouldn't say the best, but it was in the range from 9 to 10, as all the vintages of Octagon we had over for many years. Keep in mind that this is a wine we do not produce every vintage. We have not produced Octagon in 2000, 2003, and 2011. The quality was not to a level that I felt it could have been released. And that's why we say this is the best wine we can produce, but it has to be in a great vintage. At least to say very good and up. It's just a good vintage. It will not be produced, and the wine, the varieties that contain it, like some walkers at the front, if you're gonna go, they're blended down with less expensive red wine. But 17, great season. It's actually what we currently are releasing on the market. In about another month and a half, we're gonna actually release the 2018. Just for a moment, I have to check the racks here.
Where did the name Octagon come from?
So the name Octagon comes from a shape that is the octagon that you can see on the label. So this actually is the floor plan of a home that is on the estate that was designed by President Thomas Jefferson for the former owner of the estate, which was a governor of Virginia, James Sparkman. The property eventually was sold to an English family, and then in the 70s sold to an Italian family. That's where we are today. And so this building still stands here on the estate, although it stands as a ruin. The house burns on Christmas Day in 1884. And so all the internal structure, which was wood, burned, and only the massive brick wall is still standing on the estate.
Luca, do they know what caused the house to burn?
It wasn't caused by a chimney fire. So I sear and I come back to the wine. Here I sear the lamb outside. Beautiful plastic there. I would give it 1 more minute there. And then we're going to put it in the oven at 400. We're going to stick it on thermometer. This is one of the things that probably most of you have. The thermometer. And we're going to go to 140.
And for those of you cooking at home, what we're doing here was inspired by a recipe from Williams Sonoma Test Kitchen. So in that particular recipe, they call for 1 zest of lemon, which we did, 4 garlic cloves, which we mirrored, 1 teaspoon of crushed dried rosemary, 1, which we did fresh, 1 tablespoon of crushed dried thyme, which we did fresh from Luca's garden, a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 2 racks of lamb, we did 3, always extra, right? Salt and freshly ground pepper, and then 1 lemon cut into 8 wedges, which we will do in a moment. So how many people are cooking from home along with us?
So
Anybody?
we have time is getting short. We have about 10-15 minutes, and either we cook the Zabaglione, which actually is a lot of whisking, boom, 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 boom. It's very long. You can't stop. Perhaps, I promise, we're going to have Zabaglione later. We just do it, but the recipe is very simple to make. Because about in 10 minutes or so, I hope the rack is ready.
Yeah.
And maybe we just chill and have a little bit of Octagon, and let's go outside and actually I'll come back in, maybe check the thermometer in a little bit.
That's right. He's already, he's already,
So anyway, it's nice I love to cook. I cook almost every night. My wife also, she's great. at cooking, but she said, "Why don't you cook? Because you enjoy it more." For me,
I try that trick
it's
too.
like reading.
That's what I tell Ross. I say,
For
I
me.
feel like I shouldn't cook because you just enjoy it so much.
Yeah, it's like, to me, cooking is like it's like reading. It's like reading is relaxing, because when I cook, I'm full into it,
Yeah,
and that's why I like also to fly fish here on the Blue Ridge Mountain. Sometimes I take a trout home, very few, and that's another great dish to cook. It's amazing. So my life here on the farm is a lot about growing. Of course, we have a big garden. Is 180 acres of grapes, but also here at home, as you can see behind me, I have a greenhouse.
New greenhouse.
Yeah, that's a new greenhouse I installed this fall, because one thing really I like to do every night is have a big salad with some
he stays so
with some
How you say so thin?
yeah, a little bit to help it thin, but overall I just like a nice fresh succulent salad with some radishes, a little bit of spring onions, and then some bread, some cheese, a fresh egg.
Your radishes are peeking out.
They
You
are
have like 5 radishes showing their little.
they are quite, yes.
We have another question. Someone asked, what side dish would you serve with the lamb?
With the lamb, actually, as a side dish, I like personally greens a lot. Rapini are great, one of the greatest green. Baby bok choy is another thing I really like to cut in half and steam on a steamer, and then put just salt, pepper on it. You can also have, roasted potatoes with some rosemary. It's delicious. But yeah, I'm more of I like greens. The lamb is already very fat. I'd rather have something with a little less fat because it's so rich. And actually, this wine is amazing with lamb. It just does so well.
Why? Why?
It does so well because Octagon, the way it's blended and the way the grapes grow here in this area, is a wine that is not of big power, meaning it's not a wine of high alcohol, softness, richness, not dominant oak aromatics. And I'm not saying that this style of wine is not good. I'm saying it's a different style. In this weather, natural, we can produce a wine that is a bit more restrained, has good fresh acidity, has spiciness, has a lot of ripe red fruit, but it has the right amount of tannin to mitigate the fat of the lamb, and it has enough spice to go with lamb. Sometimes lamb has a hint of earthiness, let's call it, of
Gamey.
and gaminess, and so I really love it. Octagon with lamb, it's
It's a
spectacular.
beautiful wine.
And I'm a Ossobuco guy from Italy, but I prefer this. I prefer lamb with this dish than actually Ossobuco. Sorry if anybody Italian watching, and with Ossobuco you have to have polenta. That's a dish that you eat in the winter when it's very cold, it's very rich, and that you can maybe even push an Amarone, and have something really opulent all around.
Yeah. So I have 2 questions for you. The first is personal.
Mhm.
I've never asked you this. You moved here, you married, you have children.
Yeah.
Your children are getting older now.
Yeah.
What has it been like to raise your children specifically right here?
It has been a lot of fun for us to raise three children here on the farm, among the vines, among the hills, the lakes, the streams. And actually, I was fortunate that actually my wife, when we married, she was working in Washington at NASA. And when we married, she said, I want to move down with you there. We get married, have children, homeschool, and live on the farm. So our kids, basically, almost all 3 of them, once all the way to the end of high school, they studied at home with other children. So they really had the life of the farm. And that includes some hunting, some fishing, raising chicken, having eggs, and also cooking from scratch pretty much every meal. And so they really have an appreciation for food, but overall, what it takes to grow food, what it takes to labor for your meal. So I think that will stay for them forever. And that's how I grew up. And I just was fortunate to live in a place where I can pass it on to them.
Speaking of laboring for your meals, well, not your meals, but your wine. You know, we were talking earlier about the frost we almost had the other night.
Yes, I was up all night on Tuesday along with my vineyard manager, Fernando Franco, and all his team of our migrant workers from Mexico and Salvador. We have 18 of them. And so Tuesday night, the forecast was to be windy and 31 degrees. And so, which is a good opportunity to have all the crop, which is the buds, not damaged. But if the wind stops, then you start losing a lot more heat by inversion, and the temperature can plunge very rapidly. So about midnight, the temperature was 37 and windy, and then it just stopped. The wind basically stopped in a matter of a short time. But then a cloud cover came over. So if you have a cloud cover, actually heat doesn't rise, it's contained like a greenhouse effect. And so the temperature went from 37 to 42. And then at 3 o'clock, the clouds moved, full moon. We went from 42 degrees to 34 degrees in half an hour.
Wow.
And we had to very rapidly, very quickly call everybody, go out and start all the windmills to move the air. And we have portable propane burner, and then we have some smudge pots that were producing heat. And so we actually were able to contain temperature at 29.5 degrees in the lower location and 34 degrees at a higher location, and we saved the whole crop.
High five.
So
That's a big deal.
it was,
That's a big deal.
The
you
life
know,
of a winemaker
it
is
is
not
no-
always so glamorous.
it is nerve-wracking. I've done it before. You know, I've been 32 vintages, and like my vineyard manager said, you know, you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best.
How
And in
many?
life in general, when you know you have done all you could, and a tragedy like that could happen, at least you're at peace saying, you know, I've done all I could, and you have to let go and move on.
Yeah. The propane heaters look like what you'd expect, kind of like a home one, but squat, and they look charcoaly.
Right,
You have how many of them?
800.
And how many were active the other night?
Only 300, because in the higher vineyard were not necessary, but
Yeah.
in lower vineyard were necessary. And actually we displaced them by hand. The team started yesterday at noon when the forecast shifted, and they finished at midnight. And then at 3 o'clock, everybody was up.
And how many smudge pots?
Sorry, smudge pots is 800. The burners, instead, they're pulled by a tractor, and we have 5 of them.
Okay.
And they move through. Basically, it's a big burner, and it blows. A turbine blows. I know it's energy we burn, and it's not the best thing for environment per se, but to that, I always tell people, look, we are preserving 800 acres of beauty. We have vineyards, we have lakes, we have meadows, we have wetlands. So the impact we have in growing is counteracted by preserving a beautiful open space. And we haven't done anything. We are not looking to develop homes. We could really turn this land into a very productive money opportunity. But our concept is to maintain this land as an historic land, as an open space, and grow grapes. And with that money, pay, of course, all of us, and make some money, but also really reinvest it into maintaining this open space.
My question is about Virginia in general. So Virginia now has over 300 wineries.
Yes.
You were one of the original wineries. I've had a chance to judge the Governor's Cup 10 times now. And with my novice self, I have seen just in 10 years such a rapid increase in quality. Are you seeing that, or is that just my optimism?
What's happening is that all the conditions for producing world-class wines were there a long time ago. It all happened when you were able to combine the land, the climate with people. Like myself, like other winemakers from France, from South America, other from Italy. When you start bringing the people that understand how to use this piece of land and interpret the weather, that's how made Virginia wines better. It was doing actually Virginia even better. It's these winemakers, some of them, they are consultants.
Yeah.
Because if you're a very small estate, it's expensive to hire a full-time grape grower and a full-time winemaker. So that's what's happening. It's people that are passionate, people that hire the right people. And we're really seeing now a new generation of younger winemaker, which are mentored by older winemaker. And that's exactly how Europe has been ahead of us and California, because they have multiple generation work in the same land. So I've been here, I'm the first generation, and I actually have a younger winemaker than me, Daniele Tessaro. He's been with me 12 years, and I'm passing on to him all I know, and he's becoming very good, actually. Actually, he's excellent. So.
And you've done really well in the last couple Governor's Cups.
We did.
You want
yeah.
to brag a little?
Well, we have participated in the Governor's Cup many years. We won 5 of them. So let's say it's been the winer with the most awards in the Governor's Cup. And not only, but also we have excelled in different categories, like in red wines, in white wines, and sweet wine. So that shows you also our flexibility and capability of producing a great wine, not just from one category. And so I normally don't brag. It's true, you know me, but it's good to see that out of 600 wines in the competition, we can pretty much score several of our wine in the top 20, 30
Consistently.
We're there consistently, and nothing else, because we have the right piece of land, we're the right microclimate, and we've been doing it right for years. And as time goes by, we're getting better.
Yeah, I know you
So
really are.
every opportunity that this land gives us, we grab it and we won't let go. And I only screw up one wine in 1991, and I regret it, but only actually was a technical problem in the cellar over a heat sensor that gave me the wrong temperature. And wines, when they ferment, they can produce a lot of heat. I went home, and the next day found a wine that basically was compromised.
1 out of how many?
And it took me a few years to get over it, because I was younger. I didn't know any better, and it's not my fault. It's a technical glitch. So anyway,
Don't they say though, you always remember your failures?
absolutely,
You've had so
it's
many
true.
successes,
It's true,
and you
because
remember, because you want to be better and
harder.
better and better.
they're
It's a
harder.
lesson.
Well, speaking of bragging, are you able to brag about what we talked about earlier with
What?
your little trip to Richmond, or no? Is it
Oh, not yet. It's still
not
too early.
yet? Okay, that's something that we'll.
Well, no,
We don't know.
I can give a hint. I'm working with actually with the First Lady of Virginia, which I met today, creating a blend to be served at the Governor's Mansion, and likely it will be done. It'll be done every year from different winemakers, and
But they chose you first.
They be served at the mansion. They served me first because I'm older. No, they served me first. They just thought that given the record of having so many awards, and
Yeah.
so
It's incredible.
it was supposed to be a
Congratulations.
surprise, actually, but I think we might get in trouble.
It's okay. We'll be fine.
So we have a chat question. Well, we have 2 questions actually. What is the public's perception of your wine on tap tasting room? How is the
On tap,
yeah?
wine on tap, it can be a very good thing, regardless of the wine is mediocre or excellent. It would make sense to be able to serve both. Only for us, for example, is to be able to supply it and how to plan it. Like I am bottling in July, I'm bottling my Viognier 2021. One day I bottle everything. To calculate how many barrels I have to make for on tap, I need to know way ahead. I cannot just bottle some, wait, and then take from the tank. So it really is a matter more of logistics
I'm gonna go check the land.
than anything else. But I'm very much in favor of wine on tap. If you can go through the logistic and actually serve it to some selected restaurant, it avoids a lot of packaging and shipping and certain costs. But quality-wise, actually, it's excellent, especially for wine to be consumed at a younger age.
And it can last longer.
Once it's in a keg that is actually when it's filled, it's purged with nitrogen, so there's no air. It can age quite well in a stainless steel keg for, if you want, for a couple of years.
And someone else asked if, sorry, there's another question that pushed it down. Does the wine get better as the vines grow more mature?
In a lot of cases, yes, but not in all cases. I would say that if you have an old vineyard that is not in the right piece of land, it will never make a great wine. That vineyard never made a great wine. I have witnessed, although great wines made here and other places that produce a great wine at J3 or 4. And actually they continue to produce that great wine. The biggest risk is when the vineyard hit year 6, 7, 8, because they start establishing a big root system. If you're in a soil that is too rich, the vines start to grow very exuberant, and then the wine actually gets worse as it gets older. So the key is to be able to maintain the right vigor, or even better, have a soil that actually gives the right energy to the plant. And that vineyard actually, as it gets older, it will get better. I'm not saying it will just go from, let's say, a score of 800. It's not. You're not going to make a great wine on a 100-year-old vineyard, and when it was 10, it was a good wine. No, it was already a great wine, and this is perhaps a little great.
Yeah. It enhances.
It enhances. It sounds really fascinating. We say it's an old vine. It's old, but actually, in some cases, if the vines are very old and have some stress, they've been through some stress, and they have not enough energy, sometimes they can produce wine that actually are not as fantastic. But it could be both. Okay.
And the last question, or the most recent question that we have, is someone asking, where did you get your shirt?
I got my shirt in a store in Richmond. I think was in Short Pump. Anyway, it's a big store. I don't remember the name, but one of those malls. I was with our daughter. She needed to buy a dress for an event out, and I was sitting and waiting. And then I looked about 30, 40 feet away, something colorful, and I found this. I bought 3. When I find something I like, yes. When I like something, I buy 2 or 3, and I'm done. I like colors. I like things that
I love color.
Not everyone can pull that shirt off.
I
so
love
congratulations.
I think that everyone should dress their joy. Just
it's
put it
who
out
I am.
there.
I'm
I think you and I are like a big clash next to each other. It's a lot of personality.
Well, as we wrap up, I know, well, the point of this was to cook with Luca. So I just want to point out a picture that Jen showed me of Jean McSween, who made this dish or made this meal before. And just want to show off a little bit.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh my gosh.
They actually cooked with us.
Perfect.
Isn't that perfect? That makes me so, that still makes me so happy.
Jean McSween is invited to my house anytime she wants.
Come on over next time.
It's
You can cook
fantastic.
with us.
So the lamb is still behind, probably.
The lamb is ready, but I
Getting
thought
there.
it's
Okay.
132
Yeah,
degrees.
oh,
But
yeah.
I thought maybe everyone might enjoy seeing the sunset.
Yeah, enjoy the sunset, and then we will carve our chops and have some Octagon here on the porch, and just take it easy.
Have our
But
dinner.
that's the beauty of the Blue Ridge Mountain, facing to the west.
The video or the pictures doesn't actually do it justice.
It's so beautiful.
Gorgeous.
It's so beautiful. Well, thank you all for being with us tonight. This was a beautiful way to spend a Friday night. So cheers to Calvert Woodley, to Michael, to William.
Or a Thursday night.
Wait, is it Thursday? Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Details are not my thing. But cheers to Luca.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hospitality.
Thank you so much to all
for
of you.
inviting us and everyone into your home
just such a beautiful and intimate gesture, and we just really appreciate you and all the beauty you're bringing to our region. So
Thank you.
cheers to you.
We didn't talk a lot about every single wine. They don't need a lot of explanation. Tonight was more about conviviality, not a technical aspect of fermentation, barrels and that, but just share the bounty of nature and the bounty of friendship. Thank you.
Thank you. I just give a 10-second answer to Kristi, what you asked me before. Why did we agree to do this?
Yeah, why?
Because Luca is amazing. You're fantastic. And I knew that it would come off right. Expected that it would come off as well as it did. And it was really fun to watch and
It's magical, right?
magical. It's a beautiful
And
place.
not every minute can be planned.
Yeah.
That's a good lesson for life, right? Just
True,
have to
though.
be here.
Thank
be
you for your
present.
hospitality.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Michael. Thank you.
Cheers,
you.
cheers, cheers to
Thank
you
you.
guys
I'm,
enjoy it.
I'm cutting in, and I just want to say thank you so much. This is an absolute joy to watch. I loved it. Luca, you are so in your element when you're in the kitchen. It was so great to see. I really would love to do this again. I thought it was so fun to watch and really
You do
entertaining.
fantastic.
And the
The
wines were
little scrap
fantastic.
of pasta that I had was unbelievable.
It's really good.
The wines were fantastic. It was a wonderful night. For everyone else, I will be sending an email around with the video of this, of the tasting and the wines, a link to the wines which are on sale. I thought they were amazing, really well paired. And so I hope you all had a wonderful night. If you have any questions, we can open the floor for a couple minutes if you'd like to unmute yourself to ask Luca anything, and then otherwise we'll let you enjoy your night. So I'll open the floor now for anybody.
I'll go take a look.
You may have a question, maybe. No questions. Everyone's hungry.
No questions. Everyone's just saying thank you so much and to do it again. So Kristi, you've started something, and everyone's very excited about it. So we appreciate it so much. I wish I was there as well. I'm sure we all do. It looks beautiful, but we hope you have everyone has a great rest of their nights. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you to William Holby for being the
Thank you,
cameraman.
William.
Yeah,
Cheers.
William, stretch your arms later tonight. Thank you all.
Enjoy your meal and your wine.